you can have a whole written plan and it goes out the window in about 2.2 seconds.
Yes.
Things are constantly evolving and changing. There's a lot of deadlines, a lot of time urgency and time sensitive things that come up. And then sometimes on the flip side, and I'm trying to learn to enjoy things. So if enjoyment things come up, it's like you running to a friend or you're really enjoying your time with a client.
Welcome to the Maryland Real Estate Influencers Podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the local real estate market. Join us as we chat with industry experts, uncovering tips, trends, and strategies to help you navigate Maryland's real estate landscape. Get ready to elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in. Hi, y'all. Thank you so very much for tuning in to another episode of Maryland Real Estate Influencers. Today, we have Jennifer Kramer-dela Cruz with Keller Williams Legacy. Jennifer, thank you so much for being willing to be interviewed today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So could you tell us a little bit about what got you into this industry?
Well, actually, I was in my early 20s and I was, thinking about home ownership, just because rent, in my opinion, I was just throwing money away. So it's really what got me started, and just thinking about the benefits and the prospects of being a homeowner excited me. And I thought, how great would that be to be able to help and show other people how to do the same thing. So basically I decided to make it my career.
Very cool. And how long have you been a realtor?
Well, then you'll know how old I am, but I've been an agent for 23 years. So
Okay.
now it's like, I guess I'm giving this away. It's essentially half my life at this point. So actually, I think at this point I've been an agent longer than I haven't. So, and
Oh,
that
wow.
was
I
just because
understand
I had a
that.
birthday this past month.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. I can appreciate that. I've been in 25 years and I have that same exact feeling. And some days in the pit of my stomach that, oh my gosh, it's been half my life.
Great.
That's so funny. And so what has taken you to Keller Williams Legacy?
Well, during my career, I've been with 3 brokers, so they were my third one, and that was 8 years ago. So basically, the first 15 years of my career, I was an individual agent, and I just learned that, there's only so much you can do alone, and I would often get burned out. And, something that Keller Williams offered me was just showing me not to reinvent the wheel, and that, there are people before me who have, gained leverage and just best practices and systems, and just really running your business like a business so that, you're able to service your clients at a high level, with having some balance and not being burned out. So, and, they came through on that promise. And yeah, my husband was the first team member that I hired, and he's still with me today.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that was my next question, is about family and how your
Right.
family feels comfortable about you and this kind of at times crazy industry that we're in that takes us away
Yeah.
at nights and sometimes takes us away on weekends, and how we are able to balance family with that.
Right.
How do you think that you've done over the years?
Well, when I was an individual agent, yeah, I worked all the time. I was on call, and I think that's actually something that helped bring my husband into the business. He was like, well, if I can't beat him, join him. Because I think he realized that was the only way he'd be able to spend time with me, perhaps. Luckily we don't have little kids. So I can't give advice on that. I'm sure that's very challenging, for parents to handle that, and running a business. I do have 2 stepchildren that I've known since they were little, but they're now grown. So we're quote unquote empty nesters. So, Yeah, so it does make things a little bit easier, but yeah, you're right. As far as balance goes, we really have to be cognizant of turning it off. So we're not sitting there at 10 o'clock at night and go, oh, what about those inspection results? It's like, okay, at some point you have to kind of say, all right, we have some, boundaries here, and just so that's not all you're talking about and it's taking over your life.
It does happen that way, doesn't it?
Right.
It
Yeah, it
just
can if you let it. So,
exactly, exactly. One of the things that the whole reason for the podcast is to shed some light and some positivity into our profession. When I
yeah.
see so many people getting out of the industry or saying, I'll come back in 2024 when it's better,
Yeah.
instead of doubling down.
Hmm.
So I'd love to take a moment and talk about your mindset
Yes.
and how it is that you stay positive in everything that you do in your production.
I think that's a really good question, and I'm hoping that some of the things I say may help, other agents or just people in business in general.
Yeah.
Um, because it's funny that you say that. Well, I'd say that's number one. You really cannot make your decisions based on the quote unquote market. You really
Yes.
can't. You have to make a commitment either way, because regardless of what the market is today, it's going to change. So what does
Mm-hmm.
that mean? If the market changes, you're out of the business. Doesn't sound like a commitment to me. So you really have to start there first and make that mindset that this is something that you're going to commit to. And that means you have to go all in, really. And you can start out part-time. I mean, I did that as well. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that you have to jump in full-time, but if you're going to do it part-time or full-time, either way, you just have to be committed to that time that you're investing and make sure that you're being productive with that time and constantly be evaluating what you're doing with your time, and how that's fruitful for you, what's working, what's not working, and then making adjustments based off of that. I think that's probably the biggest thing is really coming up with a business plan. I think you have to take some time to do that. Sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up. I feel like a lot of agents and business people in general are reactive. They might not be proactive, So you come up with a plan, break it down, and just execute a little bit every single day. If you just let things happen to you, then you're constantly reacting and you don't feel like you're in control. And that's an easy way to get burned out. And it's an
Mm-hmm.
easy way where you're just treading and treading and you're not really getting any traction or going anywhere because you're letting things happen to you and you're reacting.
So,
So, yeah.
so part of your business plan,
Right.
would you be open to sharing a little bit about your daily success plan that you have each day of, do you have a plan each day of the things that you're going to accomplish? Do you start the night before? Do you start the morning of? How does your daily success plan look?
Okay, yes and no. So essentially, you have to have a larger plan. And then, yes, you do break that down. And every week and really every day, yeah, you should be thinking to yourself and writing down, okay, what's the most important priorities to accomplish today? Because I think we all know, and especially I just find in the real estate business, you can have a whole written plan and it goes out the window in about 2.2 seconds.
Yeah.
Things are constantly evolving and changing. There's a lot of deadlines, a lot of time urgency and time sensitive things that come up. And then sometimes on the flip side, and I'm trying to learn to enjoy things. So if enjoyment things come up, it's like you running to a friend or you're really enjoying your time with a client or you're in a class or whatever it is, and you want to spend a little bit more time doing that, you're able to make that choice and not feel like pulled in 20 different directions. So I really think, yes, it is important to have some priority items and some goals you want to accomplish every single day. But at the same time, you have to give yourself some cushion and some leeway there so that you can do other things as well that might come up.
Very important because that does happen. There's always
Yeah.
seems to be a fire every day that needs to be put out.
Right.
No matter how much we try to make sure that doesn't occur, sometimes people, I feel like sometimes people start fires purposely.
Yes.
Like I think they just looking for a little something, something each day.
And that's a good point. So, the more proactive you are, the less fires I find you have to put out.
Very true.
Think about that. And it is
That
crazy.
is so true. I love my daily success plan. I have a very specific plan of things I'm doing
Okay.
Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and then Fridays are all podcasting. So I have daily 3 hours a day of prospecting that's going to be done in different facets, Monday through
Yeah.
Thursday. And I adhere to that. And then once I finish those 3 hours, then my day opens up to actually my job, if you will.
Yes.
The actual job that I'm hired to do, but I always make sure I make that time to, whether it's 3 hours with my current borrowers that are approved, or they're if they're looking, or if they're my past clients, or if they're new people I'm in relationship with. I try to make that my first 3 hours of the day, so I make sure I get it done no matter what,
Yeah.
and then open my day up to everything. And sometimes something tries to weasel in there.
Yeah.
I try to pull it back as much as I can, just so that I'm true to my business plan.
Yeah. I think that's important. I mean, it can be difficult and challenging because what you're talking about, the 3 hours a day prospecting, that's probably my biggest struggle, is just having the discipline to do that. But at the same time, I do it more based on, number of contacts for the week. So even if I
Yes.
don't, even if I get distracted or something comes up and I don't do it within that certain time frame, I always, look at that and make sure it's done by the end of the week. If I don't get it done
Mm-hmm.
that day, something happens that day, it gets pushed or whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to think about the bigger picture. Okay, why are you doing these small activities? It's
Yes.
because they play into the larger plan, which is important to you.
Right.
And if
It's
you
just
find
math, right?
yourself,
It's just the
right?
numbers. It's just the math. And you just take
Yeah.
emotion out of it and just let
Hmm.
the math do its math. Just math do its job.
That's true. Numbers don't lie.
It's the best part of my day. And just to reverse engineer the what you want your production to be, and just break it down
Yep.
to X amount of phone calls a day. Very helpful for me.
Hmm.
So we do know that our in the state of Maryland Realtors has said that our production is down July over July, 22
Yeah.
to 23, 22%. What
Yeah.
are you doing specifically on your team to kind of pivot at this time?
Well, I'm evaluating like where my time is best spent,
Oh,
and
that's a good
what's
one.
working and what's not. Just like with different marketing, like right now, business networking, for example, I kind of doubled down on that this year to try different groups, and it didn't turn into what I was hoping for. So I had to reevaluate that, maybe pull back on that a little bit and spend my time doing more phone calls. See, I don't love doing those, I'll admit it. And hey,
Mhm.
you can still be a good producer,
Oh, absolutely.
but you still have to do that. But yeah, there really is no easy fix. At the end of the day, you really do have to buckle down and call past clients and call, prospective buyers and sellers. I mean, you really do. There's no easy way around it. It always comes back to that.
It does. And the
Right.
sooner I gave into it and just I surrendered to it. And now, don't get me wrong, there are days where I'm like, I do not want to make these phone calls. I'm
Right.
just not in the headspace for it.
Yeah.
I listen to some really hard rock or some rap, and I get like from my childhood, and I
Yeah.
put the earbuds on and I just rock out for 10 minutes, and then I'm
Yep.
like, okay, let's get this done. And I do it for a period of time, and sometimes I need to cut it off after an hour, do a little walk, and come back
Yeah.
into it for an hour. But whatever I need, the motivation I need to get it done,
Mhm.
it's like a thorn in my side, but I'm getting it done. I promise you.
Yeah. Music
Um,
helps me too. And so
yes.
does walking. And that plays into balance and
Oh, yes.
physical health. So like before the podcast here, I went out and took a walk. So I got to enjoy the sunshine, didn't listen to music, but that's an option, but
Okay.
yeah, it does. It builds your energy up and
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
works for you. Right.
Oh, yeah. I start my day working out in the morning, the first part of the day, every day now. That's something new for me. In 2023, I've done it for these last 9 months. And I start my day out with podcasts because I'm brand new to podcasting. And I start my day out with Mel Robbins and Jay Shetty and Ed Milet. And it's really challenging to have a bad day after listening to
Yeah.
those positive people. And they're just kind of kick-ass attitude. I love it. And it's a great way to start my day.
Sounds like great
Very
advice.
positive, very uplifting, very, you can do this, get out and get it. And I
Mhm.
just love it. Uh,
That's fantastic.
it is. I would love to talk to you a little bit about your last 12 months of production. Is
Mhm.
your business coming from referrals, repeat business? Is it coming from lead generation? I know a networking group like you had mentioned may
Yeah.
be under your lead generation category.
Mhm.
Where
Right.
has yours come from? And I asked specifically the last 12 months only because it's pivoted a lot.
Right.
So I want to know, I want to let the listeners know too,
Yeah.
as much as the business has changed, how has it been affecting you by where your business is coming from?
But yeah, so you're right. I mean, the number of transactions has gone down across the board
Sure.
for,
All of
and
us.
that's translated to most agents, although not everyone. Yeah, so most of my business, the vast majority of my business has always come from repeat and referral.
Okay.
Obviously my first few years it didn't. You have
Sure.
to start somewhere. Um, so it's like, oh, what I do back then, So I try to incorporate those things too. Okay, what helped me get to where I am now,
Mhm.
in order to grow the business? Because yes, repeat and referral is great, and at some point you're going to cap out at that. You're only going to get There's only so many people in your database that are moving this year, right? Or
Right.
referrals. Like there's so many times you can ask, or there's going to be some type of cap. Although there's always more potential there too. But I think you
Very
get my
true.
point. It's like you can't just stop hustling and only rely on that,
Hmm.
if you really want to do more, right? But yeah, the vast majority is. I do a lot of client events,
Mm.
at least 3 a year. So
Okay.
and actually that's part of lead generation, is calling past clients and just simply inviting them to the event, checking in with them, seeing what's going on, if they're still happy where they're at, and just, having a conversation. Um,
Sure.
and then, you can follow up and stay in touch, and maybe they come to the event or they don't. So for example, I had a client recently, and I got a listing out of it. I sold him his house in 2004. Okay. And I've invited him to events since I started doing them. Probably, I think 2017 was when I started.
Okay.
And, I've invited him. He's never been able to make one. And then he just randomly called me up and had me out to list his house. And I said, wow, thank you so much for remembering me. What made you remember me? And he's like, well, it's so nice of you always to invite me to your events. Even though he never came, he just appreciated, the thought, and the invitation. So, and it's great when you build those relationships, because you work with someone intensely when you're helping someone buy or sell a home. It's almost like having a best friend, like a new best friend every few months. And then
Yes.
it's kind of weird just to say, okay, well, we're not best friends anymore, right? So, with people like that, you can go years and years without talking. And then all of a sudden it's kind of like you don't skip a beat.
Yes.
So for every awkward conversation, there's 10 that aren't, and those are the ones that are worth it, and, make you happy that you made the calls or reached out.
Very true. Very true. I love that. What is the one uh what is the one thing that you think made the largest difference in your real estate career?
Um, Gosh, I wish I could just say it was one thing that stood out.
Or maybe most influential?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a few things. I mean, the biggest things that have made the difference in my business have been, one, treating it like a business. I mean, that's really number one. And then the things that have basically branched off of that are leverage. For example, hiring my husband to work on my team with me. He does mainly contract to closing and the administrative side. So that really, it takes all of those details off your plate, or so I can
Mhm.
focus on my clients. And
Right.
that's how I explain it to them. Like, hey, he's going to handle all the paperwork. So I'm available when you want to call me. And I have time to get your house sold and do negotiations and show a house and, focus on those things. Um, I also did have a couple agents on my team at one point who did showings for me and stuff like that. But since things have slowed down, I haven't really, found the right people to replace that. So I have a business coach, and he said, he advised me just to focus on my own business and just like focus on converting the leads that I have. And then he feels like I'll get more out of it doing that.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm doing right now. So I would say just learning those things and just like putting systems in place. So systems, leverage, treating it like a business, people. So all those things surrounding your business to make it more efficient, and then also just to help it grow.
And let's talk a little bit more about your business coach. If you're open, who
Sure.
is he or she,
Okay.
and
Yep.
how long have you been working with them?
So his name's Drew Taylor, and he's with MAPS Coaching, which is exclusive to Keller Williams,
Mhm.
and he's in Arkansas.
Ah,
And he's a top producer in Arkansas. So, even though it's a different territory, he coaches other agents across the country. And of course, there's going to be patterns and, similar challenges that each of us experience as quote unquote business owners, right? So, and he is very wise. I will have to say, I think he's 30. And I'm like, how do you know all this stuff? And we had a Zoom one time with his other coaching clients, and they all say the same thing. They're
oh
just like, are
wow,
you
that's
sure
awesome.
you're 30? Like, there's just no way. How did this happen? He's just very wise. I don't know. Some people, they're just good at teaching or coaching,
Yes.
and he's also a productive agent as well. So obviously, I'm sure each one piggybacks off the other.
Oh, sure.
It makes him a better agent. But the great thing about, I think, the coaching and the way they set it up was they'll match you. Max Coaching matches you with the right coach, and they hit, so they basically take an intake call, and everything kind of clicked right with him. So I was fine right from the get go. But I said, yeah, I want someone who has a small, like a lean and mean team who produces at a high level,
Mhm.
without a lot of fluff, and just like, because I don't want to wrangle cats. I mean, some people
Yeah.
have big teams and they're good at that, and that's great for them.
Hmm.
But I still really like to be in the field.
Hmm.
So I rather do that than manage people.
I
Like,
get that.
with a larger team, sure, some of the big team leaders, they still are in the field a little bit, but obviously a big part of their responsibility shifts to managing people. So and we've tried different things. I've had up to 5 members on my team before, and honestly, we've been the most productive with like one,
Oh,
besides
wow.
my husband, like one solid salesperson on my team. That's been like our best, and balance too, because it's not just about doing volume and making money. To me,
Right.
yes, that's important, but I want to have, you know peace. I want I
Yes.
want to have some balance and feel organized, and like, it's just a lot easier when you just have less things to focus on, and but then you feel accomplished when you do them very well.
Oh, most
They get
definitely.
done right, so
Yes. Well, what
just
is some of
know
those
that.
biggest lessons that you have implemented in your business that have been successful?
Biggest lessons, like,
Well, I know your business plan is definitely one of them,
right, right.
right? I'm sure
Yeah.
that's the big one.
So I would say dividing tasks.
Mhm.
That's so important, because if it's not clearly defined, like what task you're doing versus another team member, then there's going to be overlap, there's going to be conflict, etc. And it's a continue, not that everything's perfect, but it is something continuous you have to work on. But yeah, it happens with my husband and I a lot. It's like sometimes I want something done fast, so then I go ahead and do it, and then he's like, well, wait, I thought I was supposed to do that. I'm like, sorry. So I have to get, I've gotten better at that. And sometimes he'll even ask me to do something, and I'll be like, well, it doesn't have to be done right this second. Just put it on your to-do list and make sure it's done by the end of the day, because I really need to focus on lead gen or whatever it is, right? Because then I
Yes.
always ask him, do you want to make calls? I'm happy to do those things for you, but I'm not going to have time to make calls. Are you okay making calls? The answer is always no. So he won't do that. So that's the thing. There's certain things that I will always do, and
Mhm.
things that, your other team members won't do. So it's important to make sure that you're focusing on those priorities first, and, you're doing the things in your business that are going to move it forward, that are, going to bringing the income,
Oh,
right? So
yes.
like if it's an inspection thing or he has to call a contractor, that's probably not the best use of my time.
Right.
I should be reaching out to a client, let him take care of the contractor or whatever it is, for example, and just reminding him of that and reminding each other of that,
Oh,
saying, okay,
yes.
these are our tasks and we're going to divide them and divide and conquer.
Yeah. Now that you brought that up, my question is, why do you think that change is so hard for people?
I think that's an important question. I think number one, it's fear of failure. Um,
Mm,
it can be scary. I think there's a lot of anxiety around it, fear of the unknown.
oh, yeah.
Um, and again, I really feel it ties back into having a plan. Because otherwise you're not in control, and that can be scary too.
Oh,
Because if
yes.
you're reacting to something and you have to change because you have to, that's a
Hmm.
whole nother feeling of changing because you want to, and you made that decision first. Then it's a lot more exciting. So if you're like, okay, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, and now I'm reflecting on that, and these are the changes I'm going to have to make to get there, then it's not scary anymore,
Right.
right? Because that's your goals and that's what you want to do. So then it's exciting to change. So you
Yes.
can look at it from both perspectives, and I think that comes back to the mindset you were asking me about as well. So
So
I think
important.
yeah, having a positive mindset is everything.
It really is. It changes everything, especially at this time in our business
Yeah.
and with some of the craziness that is going on. That's for darn sure. What is the most satisfying moment that you've had in your business, or maybe a couple?
Yeah. Thought about that. There've actually been a few. I know I've already mentioned it, but obviously I was a milestone when I started growing a team and I hired team
Mhm.
members.
Oh,
Of
yes.
course, the various awards and recognition throughout the years just helps okay, keep doing what you're doing, right? You're doing something right. Um, but the best one probably being with the Baltimore Real Producers, 40 in their 40s. So that was really
Mm.
cool. And for two reasons. One, to qualify, as a candidate, it's based on production, right? You do have to be a top producer in the region, but then to be chosen, it was a vote by your peers. So that showed me
Mm.
it was a combination of both hard work and respect. So that
Yes.
was really satisfying, and to know that, right? Because I've never felt like I was very, been very popular. I'm not like, I can be opinionated and I always speak my mind. So sometimes it's not the most popular opinion, but I'm like, well, what about this? Have you thought about this?
Me too,
And I'm
girl.
not
Me
afraid
too.
sometimes, and I try to be respectful and subtle, but it can make people uncomfortable because it makes them, it challenges them, it
Yes.
challenges them to think critically or whatever it is. And, I think that's a good thing. So, sometimes, it's not very popular. Like, why do you ask me these questions? I don't want to have to change or worry about it or, whatever. But so that was nice. I mean, that just showed me that, that there's some mutual respect there in the industry and to keep
Oh,
doing what
yes.
I'm doing. So
I'm looking forward to have Colleen on. She was going to be on last week and we had a scheduling conflict, so we're going to reschedule her next week. And I'm really excited to have her on. She's going
yeah.
to bring a huge boost of energy, as she does every time she walks in a room. And I'm really
Yes.
excited to have her on
I'm
here.
gonna be excited to listen because I'll tell you what, when she first started Baltimore Real Producers, um, a lot of agents didn't really know what to think about it.
Hmm.
It was funny. They were just like, "Oh, that's just a magazine, so agents can see their picture on the cover." But it has evolved to so much more than that. Like she has made a community. It's been a community of resources. I mean, we're collaborating on, for example, the Facebook page and the different events that she puts together, which
Hmm.
are just unbelievable. I mean, her and her wife Jill are just phenomenal, and
Oh,
it's like
yes.
really, yeah, created a community that iron sharpens iron, and I think it makes all of us so much better.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I'm so excited. So I'm wondering if it's possible to narrow it down to two or
Right.
three, but the
Mhm.
two or three big and basics of your
Mhm.
business. If you could
Yes.
limit, if you can possibly
Yeah.
whittle it down.
No, I actually I thought about that. I actually can. So it's three
Okay.
things, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to go off on a tangent and talk about 20 things. You got it, Jen. You're focusing me in. We can do this.
That's the goal.
Number one, customer service. Number
Mm,
two, results. Number three, referrals. Because
mm.
without customer service and results, you're probably not getting referrals.
That's very
I
true.
really feel like referrals and repeat business are the cornerstone of my business. And I think a
Yes,
lot of agents' businesses.
that is so true. I'm wondering, as we're recording this in, I believe it's the middle of September. So we've got just about 3 more months in the to close out 2023. Are there any goals that you're still focusing on for these last 3 months for
Mhm.
2023, or are you already in full 2024 goal creation mode?
Definitely still in 2023 right now. Definitely have started thinking about 2024, of course. But
Mhm.
yeah, so for the rest of the year, I mean, it's still a very strong seller's market right now, I have to say. So, right now we're focusing, my husband and I are focusing on our pipeline of listings. It's full service right now, and we're not charging any extra for it, but we are literally helping our clients, hire cleaning companies, landscapers, cleaning out houses, like physically being there, overseeing this stuff. Some cases paying the vendors first and getting reimbursed, like just trying to make everything happen so we can get these listings on the market, close them out by the end of the year. We do have a big pipeline of buyers. However, it's just been super tough. So, we're still like reaching out to anyone who wants to get prepared. I'm hoping and thinking that usually as the fall and the winter come, it does become easier to purchase. It does become less competitive. So we're trying to get people ready and prepared. So if those opportunities do come up, at least we can take advantage of them. But
Mhm.
yeah, I have buyers right now, especially if they need closing help, they're kind of sitting on the sidelines because they realize that running out the first day, looking at the listing, putting in a bid, and then there's 10 offers that they don't have a chance.
Right.
So we're kind of doing the 3-day rule right now. Like, hey, if it's still in the market after 3 days and they don't have like a gazillion offers, all right, we'll go after it. But, you know, after
Yes.
3 days, usually they're all sold. So, but
Yes.
it does prevent discouragement, I mean, you
Most
just
of
can
that's
get
so
really
important.
discouraged. So, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it's been this way like the last 3 years. And usually I would say October through December, I get a lot of buyer contracts. So hopefully, you know, that we'll get some buyers homes by the end of the year as well, or at least get them prepared. But yeah, I mean, those oh, and then we also have 3 things going on, 3 events. So we have 2 client events. We have a pie party happy hour in November. We have a Ravens stadium tour in December. All of my clients love that, and then we're doing a holiday toy and toiletry drive to benefit, local families in need through 2 nonprofit organizations. So that the nonprofit organizations are Community Crisis Center and Women of Valor. So they're both based in Baltimore County. They both help families in need, and they'll make sure that the families get these items, for the holidays. So, and I've organized this through the Northwest Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
If anyone's interested in that, they support businesses, the community, the economic development in the Northwest part of Baltimore County. So, of course, we're also supporting the nonprofits that are part of that. So this is our 4th year doing it. It started with a small little donation collection I did at one of my pie party happy hours, and then someone said, it was actually Emily at the Northwest Chamber. She said, you should continue this through the next few weeks. And it just kind of snowballed. And now I have, I think, 8 businesses that are drop-off centers for the
Wow.
donations, and not just me and my little box at my happy hour, or my office or whatever. So
Nice.
yeah, so that's really grown.
And so
So
if somebody wants to get a hold of you in order to donate to this toiletry drive, how would they get a hold of you in order to find out more information?
okay. The easiest thing would be my website, because
Okay.
everything's on there, right? Like my phone number, my email, my social media. So my website is besthomestyle.com. So
Okay.
BESTHOMESTYLE, besthomestyle.com. It's just something I made back when I first started 23 years ago, and I never changed it. And it was kind of like, find your best home style. Like, that was my original
That's
tagline.
wonderful.
But now it's turning your American dream into reality.
I
And
love
and
it.
that's been my tagline since like 2003 or
That's
4.
nice.
Yeah.
Jen, thank you so much for coming on here and allowing me to interview you and sharing with our industry more about you and your team and what you offer. I am so grateful for you. And I'm so grateful for the charitable contribution that you bring to our industry too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well, we appreciate you as well. Thanks, Jen.
Absolutely. And for all of y'all that are listening, please do me 2 favors. One is send this podcast to 2 of your colleagues and share it with them. And number 2, please leave a review on whichever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Make sure we get the information out there to all in our industry. Thank you all so much. And until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining the Maryland Real Estate Influencers podcast. We'd like to ask you 2 favors. Number 1, forward this podcast to 3 of your favorite realtor friends. They'll thank you for it, and I'll thank you for it too. Number 2, we'd love reviews. It helps get the word out.